engineering, built environment, and social and historical sciences. But really, we have Indian students right across the university. Artificial intelligence is going to change, in some sense, is going to change everything we do. But for an education provider, I suppose there are four things to think about. Indian institutions that we work with are our strategic partners because they're amongst the best in the world. Talent is global, and we look for the very best collaborators wherever we can find them. Technology never operates culturally neutrally. It's always really important as people develop technology, particularly regarding something so personal as an assistive technology, that it works in a particular environment.
Hi, I'm Sashwati Sarkar and you're watching The Times of India. With AI shaping classrooms, scholarships getting geo-targeted and UK visas tightening, how should Indian students really navigate the new study abroad landscape? Today, we put these hard questions to Dr. Michael Spence, President and Provost of University College London, a legal scholar and theologian with a reputation for steering bold academic diplomacy at Oxford and now at UCL. Welcome to the show, Dr. Spence. Dr. Spence, which UCL programs traditionally attract the most Indian applicants, and what would be the typical cost of studying them at undergrad or postgrad levels?
So look, the top three faculties for Indian students are engineering, built environment, and social and historical sciences. But really, we have Indian students right across the university. The fees vary depending upon program, but broadly speaking, for undergraduates, it's between about £29,000 and £50,000 a year. And for postgraduate students, it's between about £33,000 and £65,000. At the top end, obviously, there are most specialized courses requiring a lot of equipment and those sorts of things.
So are there any new or interdisciplinary UCL courses quietly gaining traction among globally minded students that Indian applicants should watch out for?
Look, the kinds of skills that you're going to need for the fourth industrial revolution or for life after the fourth industrial revolution, to be the people who tell the machines what to do, not the people whose jobs are replaced by the machines. They're, yes, going to require a deep understanding of a discipline, but also a capacity to step outside your discipline, to think across disciplines in the way that the machines are not very good at. And so things like the Bachelor of Arts and Sciences or the Bachelor of Creative Arts and Humanities, these interdisciplinary degrees are increasingly popular. But the one I really like is philosophy and computer science, because that really does capture all the skills you'll need for the new world.
If you could walk us through this new interdisciplinary course, like students who are studying computer science can also study philosophy.
Yeah. Look, we know we didn't stop teaching maths when we got calculators. And there's a lot of talk about artificial intelligence as if it's going to do everything. But of course, artificial intelligence, it's a tool. And we're going to need human beings who can think deeply analytically, as well as being able to think about reasoning, about agency, about fairness, about moral and political philosophy, to know what to do with the information that the machines produce. And so philosophy and computer science goes to some of these deep questions in the nature of human intelligence, in the nature of artificial intelligence, but also allows students to branch out to think about issues, for example, such as ethics.
So in this age, now we are moving towards super intelligence, as you might be aware of. Like Zuckerberg is actually handpicking scientists for his MSL, Meta Super Intelligence Lab. What would be your take on that? The emergence of super intelligence.
Yes, there is no doubt that artificial intelligence will greatly increase the capacity of human beings to do particular kinds of tasks. But we're still going to need lots of soft skills, the capacity to work together, and we're still going to need to guide the machines, because let's remember, these machines produce results according to the things that you feed them. And so curating the kind of data that goes into the machines, and doing the kind of creative thinking that involves looking across disciplines in the way that the machines are less good at. They are skills that are going to require a particular kind of intelligence, and one that we think you actually get from a classical education.
Do you think the emergence and popularity and relevance of superintelligence will change global education and course curricula of even the topmost universities globally?
Absolutely no doubt. Absolutely no doubt. Look, artificial intelligence is going to change, in some senses, going to change everything we do. But for an education provider, I suppose there are four things to think about. The first is we need to teach people to use the machines well. We need to teach people the skills that the machines don't have. As I say, they're not very good at cross-disciplinary insights. They're not very good. Well, they're incapable of making value judgments. So we need to teach students some of those skills that the machines don't have. And actually, we need to teach students the skills the machines do have. As I say, we didn't stop teaching arithmetic when we got calculators. And that's both because we thought it was important for human cognitive development, but also because you have to be able to tell what's coming out of the machine and whether or not it makes any sense. The other thing, of course, that AI is going to change is the way we teach, and in particular, the possibility for individualized learning that AI creates is very powerful. That said, we know from our experience during the pandemic that students actually really value a face-to-face on-campus experience.
So, Dr. Spence, your healthcare and medtech alliances with IISc, AIIMS, and IIT Delhi, they look ambitious. Why is India your strategic partner in this space, and what gaps are these collaborations trying to solve?
Look, Indian institutions that we work with are our strategic partners because they're amongst the best in the world. Talent is global, and we look for the very best collaborators wherever we can find them. We're particularly excited about the AIIMS and IIT Delhi collaboration because we happen to be very strong at computer science, like IIT Delhi, and we happened also to be very strong in medicine and health, like AIIMS, and have partnerships with each of those institutions. But a lot of the future of healthcare is going to be in bringing technical solutions to medical problems. And so the opportunity for these three world-class institutions to work in that space together is very exciting. We have a terrific partnership with the Indian Institute of Science in Bengaluru that reimagines the future of medical research too.
So, do you think Indian students will benefit from these tangibly in the form of joint degrees, internships, or mobility pathways? Or currently, these are just faculty-driven efforts?
So at the moment, the focus of these collaborations is on research, or at least the focus of the AIIMS IIT Delhi UCL collaboration is in research. But we are talking about doing more together educationally with the IISc. And my experience is that when people get to know one another better and better across two institutions, it never stops at just research or just education. There's always a rich exchange in both areas that benefits both students and the communities that the universities serve.
The Global Disability Innovation Hub also works with IIT Madras and IIT Delhi, right, Dr. Spence?
Yes, yes.
Is this part of a larger UCL pivot towards inclusive tech from the global south? What would it mean for students exploring non-traditional STEM fields?
Well, so it's part of a general area of work that we have in assistive technologies. So we are very strong in assistive technologies, and our Global Disability Innovation Hub has a remarkable record of innovation in that space. Working in different cultural and geographic contexts raises really interesting questions for innovators in this field, because technology never operates culturally neutrally. It's always really important as people develop technology, particularly regarding something so personal as an assistive technology, that it works in a particular environment. And so we're really pleased that we've been able to work with IIT Madras and indeed with IIT Delhi in this space. But our students are really excited by this kind of work. So recently we had a graduate, Bashiva Daji, who's helping to improve access to digital healthcare in India and around the world using skills she learned from her master's degree at our Institute for Innovation and Public Purpose. And since graduating, she was selected as one of a class of emerging leaders from around the world at the AFS Youth Assembly in New York just this year. So there's the problems we face as human beings are global. To solve them, you need to be working with the best from around the world, but you also need to be working in ways that make sure that the solutions are found work locally as well as globally. And that's the spirit of the kind of work we do in the Assistive Technology Hub.
Right. Dr. Spence, I would like to have a very critical, ask you a very critical question now. Does UCL and other top-notch British universities, UK universities, recognize Indian entrance exams like JEE, CLAT, or CUET? Or do you think there's a gap between Indian academic rigor and how it is assessed worldwide?
Look, we don't require any of those tests for admissions to our degree programs. So obviously we look at an application in the round and experience all the qualifications that somebody brings. Indian students are fabulous. They're incredibly well trained. And that's why the great universities of the world are all keen to engage not only with Indian universities, but also with Indian students.
What, according to you, gives an edge to Indian students over others from elsewhere in the world?
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's one of those intangible questions that it's really difficult to answer. We spend a lot of time in my family thinking about this kind of thing. I have 8 children and they have 23 passports between them. So we think a lot about these kinds of issues of national stereotype. I think the thing, and we benefit at UCL from having 150 students from 150 countries on our campus. It makes it a richer place because people are bringing perspectives from all over the globe. But of course, with a country like India, apart from the fact that the education system is fabulous and the students are very well trained, what a student from the South brings is culturally slightly different to what a student brings from the North, and so it's really hard to generalize and say exactly what it is that an Indian student brings.
Understood. Dr. Spence, many top universities now offer geo-targeted scholarships. Does UCL have any exclusive financial aid initiatives for Indian or South Asian students?
Yeah, so the 3 programs that are most relevant to Indian students are the UCL India Excellence Scholarship. That's there are 30 of those. They're merit-based scholarships to support strong Indian students to pursue a master's degree at UCL. There's also
any subject, or they are subject specific. Are they subject specific?
They're not subject. They're not subject specific. We do have subject specific scholarships. For example, the Mukul Madhav Foundation Scholarship was founded just this year to assist Indian nationals to study a master's at the UCL Institute of Global Health or the Institute of Child Health. And so that scholarship, which covers full tuition fees, is subject specific. We also have need-based scholarships. So we have the UCL Global Undergraduate Scholarship for international students from low-income backgrounds to pursue full-time undergraduate degrees. And of course, while they're not India specific, Indian students are eligible to apply for them.
Right. There's a growing sense that UK is becoming a study and go destination with shrinking post-study opportunities. Is this perception justified, Dr. Spence, or is the policy landscape more nuanced than what we perceive?
Yeah, I think it is nuanced. So there is talk about the post study work visa, though our government is very committed to welcoming international students to the UK, and the proposal that is currently being discussed is a slight reducing of the length of time of the post-study work visa. Now, reducing of length of time only to make it comparable to what's available in most other countries. For our students at UCL, though, quite frankly, it's a little irrelevant because it's a right to stay in the country for 18 months after graduation,
Right.
assuming that you haven't got a job. But most of our very bright Indian students who'd like to stay get some kind of job offer either in their final year or say in the first 6 months after graduation as part of a graduate trainee program or whatever it might be. And then, of course, those people are not just on the general post-study work, post-graduation visa. Those people then are sponsored by individual employers to stay. So I agree with you that there's been a certain amount of noise around this issue, but for the kinds
Also,
of
there are a lot
students,
many changes. There are a lot many proposed changes for the graduate route visa, right?
yeah. So it's a reduction from a 2-year graduate route visa to
To 18
a
months.
18-month graduate route
Yeah,
visa. But as I say,
right.
it's not relevant for most of our students because our Indian students who would like to stay in the UK tend to get a job in a job offer in their final year or within about 6 months of graduating. And so those people then are on a different kind of visa and able to stay. It's only the 18 months is only relevant if you haven't been able to find a job for 18 months after your graduation. And quite frankly, with the quality of Indian students that we attract here at UCL, that's irrelevant to them.
Understood. Understood. Dr. Dr. Spence, let's talk a little bit about Brexit, rising nationalism, and global conflict. How is the UK and UCL redefining their relationship with international students in this context?
At UCL, we have always believed that the future, that peace and prosperity of the world depends upon cooperation, and that cooperation depends upon people-to-people contact, and that the um, uh, 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 and that there's no better way to learn a culture or to meet people from all over the world than by being an international student. So, I mentioned that I have a large family. My late wife, my first wife, was an international student where I was, and my second wife happened to have had the experience of being an international student too, which is partly why we have so many passports. And there's just it's just such a tremendously good experience. And here in London, the whole world meets, and it's a tremendous place to be an international student. And we have a government at the moment that is very welcoming of international students. But we also try and bring a little bit of UCL to India. So every year at the state-of-the-art campus of the British School in New Delhi, we run an Indian summer school, and that gives pre-university students a taste of what it's like to study at a world-leading UK university. And the summer school aims to widen access by bringing UCL professors to India from London, and it's currently open to grade 11 students. So there's we make sure we're welcoming here, but we also try and come to India just to give Indian students a bit of sense of what it's like to be in the UK.
Right. Dr. Spence, you've time and again cautioned against blindly adopting digital tools that could reshape pedagogy in unintended ways. How do you balance this? Balance embracing AI with preserving intellectual depth in classrooms?
Yeah, so look, the World Economic Forum Future of Jobs report recently showed that students most urgently require sophisticated human strengths, such as critical analysis or complex communication or ethical reasoning. AI excels at narrow tasks, but it can't replicate that multifaceted human intelligence. And our AI for People and Planet framework sets out a commitment to exploring the potential of AI as a force for good and working with partners across the world. But it's there's so much that you learn in an education that can't be taught simply by plugging your brain into a computer. You learn a lot from the other people in your classroom and from their very diverse backgrounds and experiences, from their very different ways of seeing the world. And a computer can't replicate that. And so we think that AI can be a good tool for a teacher to use, but we don't see a future where students sit all by themselves in their basement, plugging their brains into a little computer and downloading whatever it is that AI can give them.
So that brings me to the last question of this very insightful conversation. Dr. Spence, with rising geopolitical tensions, AI threatening white collar jobs, we all know that there's a barrage of layoffs in top notch tech firms like Microsoft and other companies, all driven by AI. And tighter visa norms. So all these are conditions which global aspirants are seeing all at one go. Tighter visa norms, AI threatening white collar jobs, and rising geopolitical situations. So can we say that the golden era of global education is just about to be over, or we're just beginning to reimagine it? What, according to you, should students prepare for in the next 5 years?
Yeah. So look, in a former role, we did a very extensive study talking to employers in Australia, China, India, the UK, the US, Italy, France, and Germany, asking them what skills they think people need to be the people who tell the machines what to do, not whose jobs are replaced by the machines. And interestingly, they all said four things. They all said a deep understanding of a particular discipline, because that's the only way that you can teach critical thinking skills and effective oral and written communication. They all said the capacity to step outside your discipline, so an ability to work with others with a different skill set, a sort of multidisciplinary perspective, intercultural understanding and skills in cultural competence, and an ability to work in a team. And I think we're living through a period of enormous uncertainty, but those higher order human skills, I think they're the things that will make a student really future proof. When I was a young man, students were increasingly attracted to jobs that had the name, to degrees that had the name of the job in brackets. The Bachelor of Arts, open brackets. One day you will be an accountant with a speciality in mergers and acquisitions of companies of a size of X, close brackets. Well, of course, they were tiny little narrow pipelines that dropped you out into jobs that probably won't exist in 2 years. But a broad general education, mixing with people from all over the world, that teaches you cultural competence and interpersonal skills in teamwork, as well as academic skills. That's the kind of degree that we think is going to be future proof.
Thank you, Dr. Spence, for sharing your valuable insights with us and giving us your time.
It's been a very great privilege. Thank you.
It was really great talking to you, and this conversation was an eye-opener not only for our viewers but also for me.
Thank you. Thank you very much.